Hey Aquarius, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. This is a general reading, so take what works and leave what doesn't. Over on Vimeo, I have love readings, romance readings for you. And Aquarius, we're dealing with maybe it's you being a little bit inflexible and kind of overthinking the situation, and sort of how the advice on how to deal with that. So over here though, we're doing a traditional tarot spread. Overall for the reading, we have 9 of water. Happy. Water is emotion. 9 is very successful here. Very successful. And we have Venus coming out of the clamshell. Beautiful, successful, gorgeous. She's got a lot of clarity. She's very clear on how happy she is, on how successful she is, and she wants people to see it, right? She's not hiding behind the clamshell. She's out in the clamshell, being beautiful and letting people see how beautiful her life is and how she feels. So that's overall the vibe for the reading: and emotional happiness and joy. So that's a good vibe. I like that vibe. All right, of course, past, present, inner landscape, what's at issue, environment, to-do list, possible outcome. So this reading could be about work, about projects, about love, about home repair, about family situations, anything, right? You'll recognize it, especially with the first 2 cards, if it's for you or not. So 2 of fire in the recent past. To me, this is 2 of wands. This is not being, not having a lot of faith, but trying to force things, trying to push something, trying to make something happen. Not really listening to your intuition, that's for sure. Not really listening to, I want to say, your guides or your people. They're not even talking to you because you stopped listening. So they're just like, okay, all right, well, not a lot of point in giving her advice, because she's over here just like, yeah, I'm going to make this happen. I'm powerful. I have 2 wands and not just 1. So feeling very powerful by yourself alone. And could be forcing things and not really, it can typically be a practical card, but the way this deck depicts it, I see force, trying to make something happen. A vision for sure, but just trying to force it, being more demanding of life and less flow with life, but trying to make something happen and kind of shutting your intuition down. In the current situation, we have 7 of earth. You're picking unripe fruit here. It's not ready yet. Again, there's a sense of like a little bit of force here. Like this fruit is not ready. So 7 of earth is about putting in the work, and usually it's depicted as being annoyed but patient and still waiting. And it's sort of like, do we go ahead with this or do we stop? Or do we quit and move on to something that might grow? So there's a sense of like wanting something to ripen, wanting to collect the fruits of your labor as you put work into something and you're ready to collect it. But these aren't ripe yet. You know what ripe looks like. And so the temptation is just to pick. Everybody's ready. Everybody's ready for the harvest. They're very ready for the harvest. And the temptation here is to just pick the unripe fruit and just do it. Just get this fruit, pull in that harvest, whether it's ready or not. So these first 2 cards really come in with a lot of like forcing something, wanting something, wanting to make something happen, whether it's ready or not, whether it's advisable or not, whether the universe is flowing with this desire or not, right? The universe is flowing with our desires, but it's got its own timetable, right? We're co-creating with the universe, and the universe isn't ready yet. So, and that might be a little bit annoying for you. That might be a little bit frustrating. You told the universe when you wanted to do this, and it's not here yet. It's not showing up. You're on a bit of a strict timeline. This reminds me of like, here where I live, like we have this whole sort of thing around lilacs, right? But the lilacs never bloom at the lilac festival for the lilac festival. I think maybe 1 year out of the last like 13 years that I've lived in this area. have we had lilacs blooming exactly at the day of the Lilac Festival. So the Lilac Festival, either depending on what kind of spring we had, either all the lilacs are dead already or the lilacs still haven't bloomed yet. And this is the coldest spring we've had on record. So our lilacs, I haven't seen them bloom yet. So I'm looking out there as if there's a lilac tree I can double check with. But last week they still weren't blooming. So, and that's what this looks like. We're having the Lilac Festival. Where are the lilacs? They're not blooming yet. They're not ready yet. But, you know, you've got this idea. And this is really interesting because a little bit of the same vibe was coming through on the romance reading as well. But I'm not getting strong romance vibes here. But there's a sense of like, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do it all by myself. I'm going to just force this to happen. And now you're like, there's both of these lack flow and patience, and you know, you're ready, you just make it happen already. And then in your inner landscape, you're just worried about, you've got 10 of air. You're ready. You're again, so ready for something to be over. 10 of air is the end. It's the completion of a very painful cycle. And this is your fantasy that this whole situation is over and done with, and we get to pick the fruits of our labor. We learned everything, we made everything happen, and we learned everything, and we get to enjoy the success, right? This is like happiness and success, and this is what you're trying to basically make happen here. And your fear is that your hope, I think, your hope is that this is over, that there's no more coming, that there's no more cold weather, that there's no more delay, that there's no more whatever. You really want this to be over and done with so that you can begin healing and you can begin moving on. It's just something that's gone on for a really long time. So I feel like what you're hoping for is completion. It's not that you were hoping for this long, painful cycle. It's that you're hoping for it to be over, and for it to be done, for all the losses to be over, for all of that to be done, and for like the healing energy to come in and help you recover and all of that. So that's what I'm seeing here is this 10 of air in your hopes and fears, thinking about completing something, thinking about having something be over, having the painful part behind you, so that, and having whoever caused this pain, having that be them disappear. Yes, they left a mark. Yes, they will always have left a mark, but at least they're gone now, and now you can heal, right? It's like, right, it's like the blade of grass has been cut down multiple times, and now finally the person that cuts the grass is dead, or they like moved on, and so now the blade of grass is like, that's over. All that mowing is done, and now I get to just grow as tall as I want. So and then what the situation is the sun in reverse, which sits an exact opposition to this 9 of water, this happiness. The sun in reverse, the storm is still the dominant theme here. There's a lack of clarity. There's still no happiness. There's still no clarity. Oh, the sun in reverse. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the sun hasn't come out yet. So there's still like, you're like ready to go with the gardening, but the soil's not ready yet. And if you fiddle with the soil and you work the soil when it's still too wet and too moist, you actually destroy the structure. And it can take years to decades for that structure to be rehabilitated. So, yeah, it's not time. The sun still hasn't come out yet. I guess this like farming thing is apt here. Like, the sun hasn't come out yet. That's why these aren't ripe yet. Typically they're ripe early May, but this year they might not be ripe till June. It's just the way it is. That sun hasn't come up yet. It hasn't warmed anything up. It hasn't created the growth that we were looking for. It hasn't created the clarity that you're looking for, and it certainly hasn't created the happiness that you wanted. The storm is still the dominant thing, and we don't have any sunshine piercing through the clouds. We don't have that warmth coming in. It's still pretty cold and dark here. And you're having this fantasy that it's over, and it's just not. And no wonder you're trying. I mean, I'm not trying to you know, you're trying to force it. They've got to be ripe now. They've got to be ripe now. That's what I'm seeing right here, is a temptation of just like forcing something to happen. It's got to be ripe now, but that sun still isn't out yet. And so understandably though, looking at this, how badly you want the ending of a long, painful situation to come in, of course you want to like force it and just be like, maybe you're super hungry and you're starving and like the fruit trees, the peaches still aren't ripe. They're still not ripe. That's because it's been a super cold year. And then in your environment, Two of Earth, so Two of Earth can come in two ways here in this position. One is that there's just a lot of moving parts to this thing, and there's a lot of juggling that has to happen. There's a lot of details. It comes under this Two of Fire. Two of Fire is trying to force something, right? Initially, you had this like initial idea and this inspired idea, and then your response to that inspired idea was just like, I'm just going to do it then, rather than waiting for opportunities and seeing how it can all work. There's a sense of like forcing the opportunity, because it first comes in as the Ace of Wands, which is like this this inspiration and this divine sort of this feeling of divine inspiration. But then Two of Wands comes in, and as is our nature, our human nature, to want to force something to happen rather than allow it to unfold. Here we have Two of Earth, another two here. And Two of Earth here is about, there's a lot going on. Like it would be like if you got one job and then you have to start the other job and the two jobs overlap, or you've got home, so a bunch of stuff going on at home and a bunch of stuff going on at work. It's the juggling card, and it's like trying to make sure both of these things have what they need, have the water that they need, have the care that they need. And look, she's got all these arms here, and she's just really, she had to grow a bunch of extra arms in order to take care of everything that needs to be taken care of. So we have, this is another earth one. Well, you have all four elements here. So you have so this is Two of Earth. So this is like that juggling and a lot of things needing to be coordinated. So this could either be in your environment, is there's just a lot going on and a lot that needs to be coordinated. And that's why this isn't ready. I mean, not only do we have like the sun needs to come out, we need appropriate watering, we need all sorts of things have to go into like making sure our peaches, or I should say apples, are ripe, right? Like she's growing apples here. She's growing her happiness here, but the apples aren't ripe yet. There's a lot that goes into getting the successful orchard and the successful apple tree to actually grow the apples. There's a lot that goes into that. So there could be just a lot to do here. You want to make it happen yesterday, but there's a lot of moving parts. But this could also be someone in your environment that's dealing with a lot of moving parts. So the fact that these apples aren't ready yet might be because like the gardener has like 3 other jobs, plus their mom's sick, and then their child is failing school, right? And so they've just got a lot going on, and they haven't been able to attend to all of it. So someone may just have quite a bit on their plate right now and may not be able to like help you or attend to this thing that you're very impatient about. But it's just not ready. It's not happening. And someone else, so either your environment is asking a lot of you, and there's just not enough like time to really devote to something that you're impatient about. You're feeling impatient about it, but you don't have the energy, any additional energy to add to it. Or it could be someone that, someone else that you want to work with or whatever, it just has a lot on their plate right now and isn't available for more distractions or more, another project or anything like that. They're just busy. What's your to-do list is the devil. Be the devil? No. This is about dealing with sort of things that constantly bedevil you, sort of things that are really difficult for you to get out of. So this could be like a headspace here. This could be an ambition that's difficult for you to pull back from. It can also be dealing with addictions. It can be dealing with thought processes that you've maybe struggled with before. So there's a struggle to free yourself from this devil energy. There's a sense of being attracted to something, of drawn into it, drawn towards something, and then at the same time, you know it harms you, you know it causes some harm to you. So there's something that may be very tempting, a familiar thought pattern, a familiar comfort that might be very tempting for you to go towards, but it's not going to be actually very useful for you right now. There's a lot of hope here of, I think, others around you that hope that you don't go in that direction. And there's a sense here too, the devil can be just anything that's easy to get into but hard to get out of. So this is looking at contracts, and that's why addiction gets in there. Thought processes that feel very attractive and good when we start them, right? Like sort of anger and justified anger and whatever can feel very good, but then it can create a trap for us to get sort of stuck in. How do we get out of this like sense of justified anger without feeling shame, or that we've done something bad, or that it was wrong of us to feel angry at all? Like these things can kind of suck us in, and then it's really difficult to pull ourselves out of it. So so temptation is dealing with temptations. And maybe, right, we were talking about being tempted to grab this fruit, even though it's not ready yet, being tempted to just force something, even though it's not ready yet. And it might not be ready yet because there's a lot of moving parts here. It takes a while for something to be ripe, and it takes a lot goes into that. So you could be thinking about the temptation to force something to happen, not giving into that. And where's that temptation coming from, and why do you want to force something that isn't ready to happen? Like, why do you want to pick the lilac buds? Like, why not wait till they're lilacs? And then you can make a really beautiful but very sneeze-inducing bouquet. So, you know, not giving into the temptation to pick the unripe fruit, to cut those lilac bushes, to get the lilac buds before they bloom. I don't know if lilacs bloom once you know, some flowers do that. You cut them and they bloom later. They can still bloom, but some fruits like that too, but not all fruit. So 3 of fire, I like this. This whole thing is about getting you out of this process of forcing something to having faith, having more faith, and believing in your capacity, your own capacity to handle things, your own capacity to piece things together, having faith in the future, and working with the universe more. So 2 of fire takes us out. The whole spirit of fire is this inspired spiritual action, or creative action, creativity. And here you were trying to force a creative thing. This, you have a lot of faith in the future of this project. So there's a sort of a return to faith, but I think you have to deal with your inner demons. I think you have to deal with your inner demons and these things, these sort of tempting things, temptation to force something before it's ready. So where you're headed, I really love this 3 of fire. You are headed towards much greater faith in the future, and not trying to force something. But you can see where something's going and you feel a lot better about it. But you do have to deal with these inner demons. All right, let's get something from this deck. What does Aquarius have to look forward to? My voice is going. Spirit guardian of winter, retreat. All right, so retreating somewhere. There's like, I like this snow globe. I want to call it a wish globe. A wish globe. And then I'm sorry to say that winter, these have like sort of some seasonal things. So looking forward to something in the winter. Something you've been wishing for, dreaming of, replicating. So I feel like whatever you've been trying to force and make happen before it's time, winter might be, I know it seems far off, but winter might be like a really good place to look for that, or a really good goal, or a really good place where this, right, because we're looking to the future and we have a lot of hope. So I feel like this snow globe is about a wish for this retreat. It's so funny because we're struggling to get out of winter here and out of this, you know, and here it is, like, actually look forward to it. Something to look forward to in the winter here. So I hope that was helpful for you, Aquarius. Thank you so much for joining me over here.